Welcome back. As promised, we're being joined by our State House insiders, Antoine Seawright and Dave Wilson, our Democratic and Republican strategists. A lot going on over at the State House this week. Want to jump into a religious education bill being proposed in the House. Lawmakers want "In God We Trust" displayed in all public schools in South Carolina. Also, they want religious studies as it pertains to the Bible, creationism. What do you guys make of this? What are you hearing?
We teach government in our public schools. We don't tell them tell a child to be a Republican or a Democrat. We teach government in class and don't tell them they need to be capitalists or socialists. But we do teach about government. And teaching about religious freedom, it does open up the opportunity for people to hear about the religious basis of our country. In God We Trust has been our motto for more than 70 years. It has been a flow through, and guess what? It's on the mantle in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C.
On our money.
It's on our money. It's everywhere. And so this should not be that controversial of an issue, except for those who don't want to have religious openness, but instead religious closeness that turns around and says, we don't want to have religion at all.
My faith will always come before my politics. So, of course, naturally, I'm not against the teachings of Christ, the same teachings I've received growing up in the Prodigal AME Church and the Maloney Baptist Church when I was a child. However, it is something to be said about what some could view. Notice I said what some could view as pushing one religion or the other on children at a very young age. That's how some will view it. Let me finish my thought. That's how some will view it. And at the end of the day, in the same vein, you have teachers who complain nowadays about all the things they are required to teach and are obligated to teach. And so adding something else to their plate as lawmakers work on legislation or ideas to remove clutter from the classroom, I just don't know. At the end of the day, I'm not a lawmaker, but what I do know is that I believe in this thing called the American franchise. And within the American franchise, people have options to learn and to do whatever it is they want to do. And some parents will say, let's let that be taking place at home or in our worship centers, our synagogues, or however you choose to worship.
I'll never forget the day I worked for Carol Campbell, and he came in, and there was some stuff that was going on in the schools, and he said, you know, the thing about it is this. They took prayer out of schools, and they took the Bible out of schools, and look where we are today. That was 1992, 93. Let's fast forward a couple decades here, and let's look at what we're dealing with. A foundational understanding of why we have come to where we are is a history lesson in and of itself. If we don't study history, we're doomed to repeat it. And the religious aspect of that is a great history lesson because we can see over and over again how that has happened.
At the same time, you expose people to lawsuits because what if someone is not a Christian and they're not a believer in Christ?
That's an interesting fact because, you know, here's the thing. The number of the top 5 books ever published in the world, the Bible is among the top 5 ever quoted. And Antoine, see, this is your education side because Christian parents recently polled, 90% of them are okay in not censoring what could be taught, including the Quran.
Simmer down for a second. We're on the same team. We're on the same page in this. All I'm telling you is we have to be thoughtful and mindful of what other people believe and think. That's why they teach us in our places of worship about Christ, but in other avenues and places of worship, they teach something, and I don't have a problem with that because you know what?
Did it say? But here's the question, JR. Is it about Christian studies or is it about religious studies? Because there are two different aspects of that. Christianity being one and probably the predominant religion in our area.
That's my point. That's exactly where I'm going.
And so in understanding a faith religious base is an important part of understanding society.
And at the end of the day, if we put that back in the schools and when little Larry goes home or little Melissa goes home and her parents are not preaching at home what she is learning in school, then are we really making a difference? Because part of me feels like this. I thank God for my mother and father because not only did they preach a sermon, they showed me a sermon every single day at home.
And that's the important part.
And that is the most important piece.
I can say that.
Want to move on. We have just a couple of minutes left. Didn't know we were going to go that long on that subject. Want to talk about something that happened at the State House earlier this week. About 24 black lawmakers staged a walkout in protest of a vote on a judge. Attorney Blake Hewitt beat out Judge Allison Lee for a spot on the South Carolina Court of Appeals. Hewitt's white, an attorney. The judge, Allison Lee, is black, and she has been a circuit court judge for quite a while. What happened there?
So many times I get called out or people question me for pulling the race card, Dave. You know this because we talked about it in private. But at the end of the day, I don't even want to go there. I want to go on the pure fact of qualifications. The fact that I think this is Allison's maybe 6-time running for office, a very well qualified judge who Democrats and Republicans agree. And you would be fooling yourself, Dave, and you know this because you're there like I am, to say that our bench in South Carolina, our judicial bench, looks like South Carolina. It's 2019, and black people are still raising hell and raising Cam to trying to get people on the bench so that our judicial system, qualified people, so that reflects the state of South Carolina.
So, everybody at home, here's the question that I really would like for you to think about, because this is the important part. Can you name anybody right now who's running for a circuit court judge position in South Carolina? Because I can almost guarantee you, Antoine and JR, the majority of the people can't, because they don't think about the fact that they have a voice in this process, because this is part of the democratic process, because our state representatives and senators vote on who is there. If people have an issue with it, it's time to start picking up the phone right now and making the phone calls.
That's no here nor there. The people who make the decisions, lawmakers, all I'm saying to you is we have qualified African Americans who offer themselves to serve at some of the highest levels of our government, and oftentimes they are overlooked for politics, and some would say for race. And it's not like we're just saying meet a quota. These are qualified people who have a track record of doing a good job. Something has to be said about the system, and if we don't call these things out, if African American lawmakers don't call it out, we will always be on the menu and never at the table.
Here's the thing about that. And you know this quite well, having been on the inside. What actually stirs those lawmakers to do something is when you at home pick up the phone, make a phone call, and make us think about an issue. That's what's missing right now. Paying attention.
Or when those of us who are on the inside highlight these issues and bring it to the attention that we have to do better.
Whether it's this, or issues of abortion, or religious freedom. That's why we're here every Thursday night.
We will leave the discussion there. Antoine, Dave, thank you so very much. Of course, next week they'll be back with more on what's going on inside our State House. Stay with us. When we come back, South Carolina's weatherman Jim Gandy has a look at the forecast.